been compared to the invention compared to the invention of the wheel and even the discovery of fire, for its colossal impact on productivity. And it's going to impact literally every aspect of our lives. But while it took decades for humanity to realize the benefits of the Industrial Revolution and centuries for the world to learn about the wheel, ChatGPT reached 100 million users across the globe in just 60 days. And now, a mere 4 months later, we're standing on the brink of another leap forward with AutoGPT, which is the latest incarnation of AI, and one that is redefining automation and really driving efficiencies that we can only dream of until now. Now, I also want to point out, as you all know, this is very new, and so no judgment here, but I'm curious how many of you have tried any of the various AutoGPT tools that have been developed thus far? So a couple. Again, not surprising. This is a very new development. Leave your hand up if you've tried Godmode. Okay, so it looks like our core team. Godmode is just one example, and we're going to use that today, but know that there are many examples of AutoGPT tools, and we're going to talk about some of the applications, but we're not at all suggesting that Godmode is the end-all be-all. It's a good example of one that we're going to help you explore. Now, if this is all new to you, by the way, don't worry. I mean, the fact that you're here today is evidence that you're an early adopter. And by the end of this program, hopefully you'll begin to experience the power of the not so humbly named Godmode, AutoGPT, which is fortunate because according to Accenture, sales and marketing is going to be are the top two impacted professions in terms of percentage of activities that are going to be replaced by AI. And the good news for you is that those that embrace this and incorporate it into your daily operating framework are going to be in a position to really take your game to a whole new level. But before we dive in, I'd like to introduce the rest of the VR networking team and go over just a bit more housekeeping. First of all, again, we have a large group here, so please mute your mic if you're not talking. However, we're wildly curious about your perspective, and we really do want this to be interactive. So please use the raise hand button to Zoom if you'd like to contribute or ask a question, and we'll be tracking that and getting everybody involved in the conversation. Hello, somebody out there, if you could please mute your mic if you're not speaking, we'd appreciate it. I'd also like to encourage you to use the chat feature liberally, and we'll be, again, tracking the chat, and if there's anything that we don't get to today, we'll be following up and trying to provide answers to any questions that may come up. And finally, I'd just like to make a small plug for our next event, which is scheduled for June 8th. It's going to be an opportunity to meet Michael Alf, who's the author of Marketing in the Metaverse. And that's, again, going to be an immersive event. So stay tuned for details, as well as a promo code if you're interested in purchasing his book. As for the VR networking team, I'm Alex Berg. I'll be facilitating today's discussion. And when not orbiting the Earth in a space station, I spend my time helping revenue teams leverage the right technology, processes, and people to truly optimize productivity and accelerate profitable revenue growth. And yes, I am wearing cowboy boots. It's a little inside joke for my friends on the call. I guess they didn't get it or they're muted. Roberto DeCosto, can you stand up? So there's Roberto over there.
Yes.
Roberto's the founder and brainchild of VR Networking, our fearless leader, and my inspiration for diving into the metaverse. And when he's not networking in VR, Roberto and Vibe Branding help companies breathe life and vitality into their go-to-market strategies with web design, web development, graphic design, and online marketing. And he's just been a tremendous force for this group. Jim Intriglio, where are you, Jim? Raise your hand. There he is.
Hey, I'm here. How's it going, guys?
Hey, Jim. Jim's a lifelong technologist and virtual reality junkie and consultant. And he's really responsible for helping us stay current on this rapidly developing technology, which is truly no small task. Jeff Weiser, who I see over there. Jeff, go to market. Put your hand up, Jeff. Jeff is my original virtual. There you are, Jeff. Thank you. My original VR sensei. He's been working full time in VR for 2.5 years, and he created Focusverse, which, as far as I'm aware, is the first and only immersive Pomodoro technique experience, which is what we're going to experience today. He's going to lead the Pomodoro productivity session, during which you'll have the opportunity to install Godmode, or I shouldn't say install, access Godmode on your computer. Our two most recent members of the VR networking core team are Todd Lewis and Neco Turk. Todd and Neco, where are you at?
Yeah, New York.
Okay, Neco joining us from New York, where he and his company Leap Productions help companies grow by turning their vision into video gold. And Todd, throughout his career, is focused on helping people connect through training and coaching. And he's also an award-winning film writer and director. And I encourage you to track him down on IMDb. We also have Ryan Yep with us, known as Private Ryan here in Immersed. And Ryan and Immersed help companies around the world virtualize their workspace and are our host today. So maybe a little round of applause for Immersed for hosting us for this event. Appreciate it. And Ryan's here to assist with any technical issues you may encounter so that you can focus on the learning experience. And finally, please give it up for the Immersed film crew, Tim. He should appear as a little coin somewhere in the room. But Tim, for those of you who are here with us in the Orbitarium, don't forget to smile because we're going to be recording this and sharing it in follow-up material later. But of course, this is called VR networking, not VR speechifying. And you all are the most important participants. So please join the conversation. Again, use the raise hand button in Zoom if you'd like to contribute. And you know, again, the point here is for us to not only impart some information, but have the opportunity to get your input, perspective, and share ideas. Okay? So that's it for ground rules and introductions. Why are we here today? Why did you come today? Why did we pick this topic? Well, as previously noted, sales and marketing are expected to be two of the most significantly impacted professions in terms of percentage of activities replaced by AI. In fact, Accenture says over 50% of our activities are going to be impacted. But it's not just about automating tasks. It's also about leveraging this latest toolkit to increase productivity, improve business outcomes, and to optimize productivity. During this event, we're going to leverage the Pomodoro technique, which is essentially interval training for your mind. And we're doing it in an immersive environment, which is an approach designed to help you focus, minimize distractions, and substantially enhance your productivity. That said, we understand that not everyone's ready for VR. So for those joining today via Zoom, you can still fully participate and benefit from this event. So don't worry about it. Again, if you'd like to come join us here, the water's fine. So in a few minutes, I'm going to ask Jeff Weiser to step up to the podium to kick off the Pomodoro session. However, I'd like to first just take a few minutes to collectively identify and prioritize the use cases you believe might benefit from AutoGPT. So again, if you could use the chat, I'm curious, what are the things that you think would most benefit, and bonus points if you've actually implemented them. And you know, some examples that come to mind, of course, are improving prospect identification, web scraping. Very good. When you say web scraping, Jose, can you share with us what the business outcome is that you're using web scraping for? I'm curious. Getting leads and contact information, absolutely. There's some phenomenal tools out there that are helping us to really zero in on a legitimate granular ICP, and again, making sure we're spending our time with the right clients. Anyone else? Script writing. Competitor profiles, yes. Financial modeling, yeah, these are certainly some things that a lot has been written about, but haven't done anything with AI yet. Okay, so you're interested in leveraging AI for financial modeling. A great use case, by the way, for AutoGPT, where it's important to be able to consistently leverage the AI to stay on top of your financial position. That's one of the things that AutoGPT does, is enable you to essentially have a full-time personal assistant. Any other thoughts? And by the way, feel free to come off mute if anybody would like to contribute verbally. Can anyone interpret that? Okay. Well,
Jeff, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. I just having trouble coming off mute. So another good application I've had a lot of success with is role plays. And that can be, it was actually surprising some of the usefulness of a role play, whether it was an accountant or a marketing professional. You also had the ability to train it on data, which could make it very specific to an application or to a business.
It's a great use case. In fact, interestingly, it's one of the ones, Jim, that I'm particularly interested in as a replacement for how sales enablement professionals use video role play to learn sales messaging. Imagine if you could actually have a conversation with an avatar that's tuned to be like your prospect. And you know what? If you don't make the pitch properly, you're going to get thrown out of the virtual room. Come back and try again. I love that.
Yeah, I've got one, if that's all right. If I can share
Go
one.
for it.
Yeah, I mentioned hyper efficient content creation outlining in the chat. Beyond just making content, I've found it highly useful for visualizing a reality of content. So if I have a big plan or a big problem statement I'm trying to approach, I can sort of simulate out the reality of the outcome really in like great depth and comprehensive depth, and then kind of reverse engineer backward. So just as a conceptual use, that's like across the board valuable to pretty much anyone. Just a matter of being imaginative with setting up your visualization of what you want to achieve.
Fantastic use case. I was just talking with a gentleman who builds environments in VR and integrating VR and AI to, for example, illustrate the concept of blockchain, which is something that a lot of people struggle to understand, but that in a VR environment enhanced by AI, you can start to get your arms wrapped around how does this thing really work. It's just a great medium for simplifying complex issues. I love that. Thanks for that.
For sure.
Anybody else? Jim?
Yeah, I think I've had some pretty remarkable success with business planning. And I started with prompt engineering, a prompt saying, you are an expert business consultant, et cetera, et cetera. You are expert in lean business planning. And here's where we are now, and here's where I'd like to go. And what do you think? And that response kept me busy for almost half an hour. And then I built on that. So it was very, very promising as far as having, when you prompt engineer a business partner that's expert in some area, whether it's lean business planning or it could be agile software development, it can really provide some useful feedback, especially when you start giving it context and like your own business or a particular design specification, let's say. Very, very useful.
Yeah, Jose has a question. Are we talking ChatGPT or AutoGPT? And it's a great question. I mean, the challenge is that AutoGPT is so new. I mean, when I said raise your hands, there were very few people that used it, and that's not surprising. I've started experimenting with it, and like any tool, it takes some time to learn how to use. But ultimately, what it does is help you string together commands that you might otherwise do with a ChatGPT solution to make that more streamlined and automated, and requires less input from you because you can focus on the outcome and let the AutoGPT agent direct you as to how to do it. So I think we are sort of, I would agree, we're sort of going back and forth between ChatGPT and Auto, but ultimately, you know, they're both doing the same thing, which is accessing information in a more efficient way and helping us solve for problems. The other thing, by the way, that AutoGPT does that ChatGPT doesn't do at this point is give you real-time access to the internet. And so if you're trying to research something, ChatGPT is only going to be as good as the last data set that it's trained on, which at this point is still a couple years old.
Hey guys, sorry, Akim speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Hi. Yeah, I was wondering regarding the difference between ChatGPT and AutoGPT, because I didn't know AutoGPT. So I will try it definitely. I have daily conversation with ChatGPT, and by the way, since last weekend there is a beta of browsing with Bing. They update it with Bing. So now with ChatGPT, you also have direct access to the web. it's a bit long and cumbersome. It clicks for you and so on. But it makes it a lot more powerful because you can now access data that are later than October 2021. And I use it for plenty of things. I mean, anytime I have a complex question, I don't find the answer easily. I ask it help for scripting, for translations, for marketing, really a lot of things.
Awesome. That's a great watch out. Thank you. And of course, yes, Bing has made that connection, and it's a great example of how fast this train is moving. But thank you for that reminder, and I think we're going to see, frankly, all of the search engines that exist today ultimately get to that point, and probably sooner than we realize. So thank you. That's really helpful, Akeem. I'd like to just ask or touch on one more item in the chat, and then perhaps we can move on to the next session, which will be the Pomodoro to install Godmode. And Trip, you talked about training. Can you talk a little bit more about what you were talking about there? Because that's got both VR and AI implications that I think are really worth pointing out to this group.
Yeah, I think part of what you're talking about is interactivity and developing scenarios with people so they can actually go through it several times, or potentially even lay out programs specifically to apply it in real time. So say you have a scrum together for a sales meeting you want to do, that's a great way to be able to facilitate it with AI and have it come back with information for you. And I see some of the other financial services, they're doing a lot with that. The other piece of this is just having the ability to get feedback in real time. So it actually goes back and forth with the program. And if you use the right prompts and you have this ability, you can actually get some rather interesting conversations going. But as the manager managing a team of salespeople, for example, you can actually evaluate and help your people grow in real time. So they don't have to do it in front of the client. They can say, the client we're doing today is ABC, and then go in and do a simulation or a scenario planning session. And even some of the ideas that come out of it ultimately lead to further discussions and different points of view that maybe that the sales team wasn't thinking about.
Love that. Love that. And of course, the other thing is leveraging the analytics that you have access to with AI to continuously enhance the training, right?
I mean, it's a sales manager in a box, but it could be used by the sales manager to be more effective as well.
And one thing I'd just like to add, when we incorporate virtual reality into our training, the stats coming out of education are very compelling. Things like the ability to learn material in literally half the time, improved retention, and perhaps most interesting to sales folks is the improved emotional connection to the material, which really creates a lot more, first of all, increases retention, but also gives people more confidence when they're delivering that material to a client. So really the VR training applications, I think, are tremendous, and we're going to see more and more of that in the very near future, in my opinion. So anybody have a absolutely burning comment or question before we move to the next section? Want to kind of keep us moving?
Yeah,
so
Trip has a question.
Go, Trip.
You're mute, Trip.
Sorry. One of the things that's interesting about it, it's limited to you by your own imagination, right? I mean, part of what this does is can be done so much more quickly because you can adopt and adapt in real time. So I think that's the other piece of the training component. It just changes the game from what has been done in the past, and even off of baseline material. So if you prompt engineer a number of scenarios out, then you can take it from there and move very quickly into some rather interesting conversations. So it's really amazing tool. And I think the other part of this is, and this came out of a Microsoft conference at Developer Conference this week, is they're going to tie it into all these other apps. And that's going to make it so that you have this interface that's common to ChatGPT and Azure, for example. It's going to just change things very quickly in ways that we can't even imagine today. But if you have the imagination, that opens the door. And that's what we're going to see today. Is I think that's one of the things Godmode offers, is a more imaginative way of visualizing what you're doing.
100%. So thank you for that comment. 100%. Yeah, and as we've said a couple of times, we're talking about the state of the art as of today, or probably more appropriately as of a week ago when we put this program together. And it's moving so rapidly that, as you say, Trip, we're going to see new capabilities pop up literally every day. And I don't think that's slowing down anytime soon. I don't think anybody would suggest it is. Okay, so thank you for those contributions. Let's keep this going. Really, today our objective is pretty straightforward, yet we think potentially transformative, and that is we aim to have every participant here who chooses to have access to Godmode AutoGPT. And by the way, a shout out to Emil Albach, the creator of Godmode, for sharing his brainchild with all of us. I will tell you a little bit of the sausage making here. We ran into an issue earlier this week because there were some APIs that were struggling, and they got on it and fixed it. But this is just something to be aware of as you're getting into a leading edge technology that, so the point here is, it's a new technology and we have to have patience with it. But if we take the time to learn it and use it, it really can have tremendous impacts. So we're gonna take you through that using the Pomodoro technique. And then once we've set up AutoGPT, time permitting, we'll have a debrief at the end to talk about the relevant sales and marketing use cases and discuss your first experience in Godmode. So without further ado, let's step into the future of productivity together. Jeff, Roberto, take it away. I'm going to abandon the podium and come on down.
Yeah, Jeff, your turn, buddy.
Thank you. So I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page here. This is a group of people who already have been working with AutoGPT. Is that correct? So what we're doing is just getting into Pomodoro sessions to help the flow of actually getting it done. Is that what we're doing, or is
no? We're gonna start by explaining how to access Godmode for those that have not done that. And Roberto is going to help us with those steps. Yeah.
Excellent. In that case, I would suggest, Roberto, I'll step down, and
cool.
If you could, and then I'll explain how the Pomodoro technique works after you do that.
All right, cool. So let me begin. I'm going to take you off and then get you guys a screen recording. Does everybody have an OpenAI account? For you guys to participate today with the interactive portion of the event, we all need OpenAI accounts. They don't take very long to set up. If you don't have one, we will give you ample time to set it up. But that's essentially all we need. So let me go into sharing my screen. Okay, we'll jump on to OpenAI. Does everybody see the OpenAI window? Yes?
Yes.
Good. Okay, great. So sign up is a sign up button, pretty obvious. OpenAI.com is the URL. I'm going to log in because I already have an account here. It doesn't ask me to log in because it's already, my information is saved in the cookies. But if you haven't logged in, log in. Before you select ChatGPT, don't get fooled. That's not where we're going. We're going to API. Ready? When you guys come into your API dashboard here, you'll have a bunch of options here. Ignore everything here. Let's just go to click on your name on the top right screen, and let's go view your API keys. As you can see, I already have an API Godmode set up. Again, to get here, click on your name and go to View API Key. That'll bring you here. To create a new API key, pretty simple. Just create a new one. Say, I don't know, Skip. As in a dog name. I don't know why I called him Skip. Don't skip this step. Do this step. Create a name, create the API key, save this API key somewhere. Okay. I'm not gonna let you use my API key. But if you guys ever need to remove your API key, easy as revoke, and that's it. Okay, I already have an API key installed, so I don't need to do this step with you guys, but just make sure you have your API key saved. Before we move on to Godmode, we do need to add a payment method here. So This costs very little cents, per day. If you're going to use Godmode, maybe $1 a day if you're going to use it all damn day. But you don't need to worry about draining your wallet on this example and this experience today. It's literally going to cost you cents, but you do need to use, you do need to set up a billing payment method here. So click on billing on the left-hand side, click on payment method, and add your payment method. We'll give you guys, a minute to set that up. I know that everybody on the headset, you guys got to look through your little peephole by your nose. We all have that struggle. It is a work in progress, I hear from Meta. Unless you got the Pro, but who has money like that these days? Jeff.
At least it's deductible for Jeff.
Yeah. Jeff's on the Pro. So I'm making fun of him. Okay. So we'll give you guys another 30 seconds, and then I'm going to jump into the next step. If anybody, has wants me to slow down, just speak up on Zoom, and I will go back to a step. But we're not far from the end here, so it's really quickly after this we'll be done.
So Roberto, what I would suggest, and I still have yet to explain to the group what Pomodoro is, but we'll get to that in a moment, is we take the first Pomodoro to do the setup that you're showing here, and maybe a little bit of experimentation with the first ideas of what to create. So if you could, once you've done the setup, just kind of give a very simple example, and then I'll challenge everyone to do the setup plus that simple example or their own simple example of how to use AutoGPT in 20 minutes.
Yeah, and also I won't be participating in the Pomodoro. I'll be in the Zoom with any questions. So you guys can unmute yourself and then jump in and ask whatever questions on the setup if you guys are stuck on a setup.
Perfect.
And I'll be with Roberto as well.
Okay, so after you set up your payment method, you're going to come into still under billing, you're going to go to usage limit, and here you can set up how much you really want to spend. So as you've seen, $1.59 all I've spent so far with days of using Godmode, using this API key. It's really inexpensive, but I did set my hard limit at $20. So this is going to bill me at $20. It'll alert me at $20 once I spend the $20. A soft limit as well. It'll warn you, hey, you're about to hit your limit, and so on. But you could set $2,000, $20, I don't care, $5 for this experiment. You're not going to use it, but you should set that up, for your own benefit. Okay, grabbing your API key. Let's hop in over to Godmode. The Godmode URL. I'm gonna put the Godmode URL in the chat here. It's called godmode.space. Okay, and I'm gonna share my screen for Godmode. There. Okay, everybody sees my Godmode?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, I'm already logged in, but you'll see something like this with this blank.
Wait, can you please
Yeah.
tell me I'm on the API key screen. Okay,
Yeah.
what screen? I was busy finding my code for my credit card and stuff to upgrade.
That's okay.
So from the platform.openai.com account API keys, where would I go to get to the screen that you're on?
So the screen that I'm on right now is a different URL. It's godmode.
Okay.
Instead of .com.
Godmode.space. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so you'll see a screen like this, but nothing on here because you haven't set up your key yet. And Godmode, just to let you know, it does allow you a couple of prompts, but it quickly stopped after 2 tasks, and it'll prompt you to log in. So to set up your
Hey, Roberto, someone just DM'd me that they're not seeing your screen. Is anybody else having that issue?
See it just fine.
Okay,
I can see it.
It must just be an individual. Sorry, Roberto, continue on to make sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And also again, to reiterate, I will be in the Zoom while everybody is, experimenting with Godmode, to help out with any troubleshooting. So I'll jump back in and help you out, whoever is not seeing the screen here. Okay, so in Godmode, click on settings, and in here you'll paste your API key. Okay, it might ask you to log in as well. But that once you put your API key in here, that's it, done. Paste and done. And now your Godmode should work fine. So I have a couple prompts here that I've worked on, but let's give it an example just so you guys could see what to expect from Godmode. Does anybody have any requests for a quick prompt? Just say it out loud. I can't see the.
How about, I got one. How about we make can you have it make a text art version of a person using VR?
Wow. I mean, I don't know if that's a good one, just because I'm not sure.
I've tried text art before and it worked, which is why I mentioned
Really?
it. I was really surprised with the result.
Wow, make a text art version of someone using VR.
Yeah. It was that was from Godmode, one of the things that really kind of, I was like, wow, this can do anything if you really wanted to. And give a TXT export, you can ask it.
TXT file. Just like that. Let's launch it.
Someone using VR of someone using VR and produce a TXT export file. You want to be really specific. So coming from the language background myself, I found it's really important to be precise with the words that you choose with this thing. And some of the mistakes that I've made have definitely been mine and the words that I've chosen rather than AI mistakes. They've been human error.
Let's try it.
AI error doesn't happen as much.
So we're going to launch this. We're going to allow it to think. And you're right, Jeff. If you thought that ChatGPT was a little bit difficult to get the right answer, you figured out that the more in-depth your prompt is for ChatGPT, the better outcome you'll get from your ChatGPT. With something like AutoGPT, and Godmode is a web app version of Godmode. Of AutoGPT. Yeah, OpenAI error is what it gave me. What should I put in here as a task?
Can I suggest, just look, in the interest of time, we have 16 minutes. I think we're gonna have to cut the Pomodoro short anyway. From the beginning, we've said this is an evolving technology. We just want to give people a taste of how it works and how the Pomodoro works. So why don't we just jump in and let people try it? Is that okay with you, Roberto?
Yeah, is everybody okay with that? Are you guys good if I let go of your hand and you guys play around?
Thumbs up if you all agree.
Okay, I'm gonna be in the once Jeff comes up, he's gonna set up the Pomodoro. Right after that, just if you have any questions, just talk to me on Zoom. And if you don't want to hear the Zoom, Jeff will explain the Pomodoro, when to hop back in, or unmute yourself and unmute the audio from the computer. So I will close the screen here and give this back to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Roberto.
Jeff, as imperfect a solution as I know this is, I think you probably want to do like an abbreviated Pomodoro, like say a 10-minute Pomodoro, and then
sure,
because otherwise we're going to run past the end time that we scheduled.
Yeah, you got it. I'm just changing it right now. All right, Roberto, the one thing I could ask if you could enable sharing, and then I'll share my screen with the timer on it. So in the meantime, as he does that, let me just explain what the Pomodoro technique is. Some people have heard of it, some people haven't. It's an Italian dude named Francesco Cirillo who made it up. a sociologist, did a lot of studying on really the best time frames in which to do his studying as I think, a master's student. And he has a book called The Pomodoro Technique. All you have to do is read it. It's a short little thing, and it teaches you how to do this. The boiled down, very, very simple explanation is you put a timer on. You're supposed to hear it tick in an ideal world, and that timer should be for a traditional Pomodoro 25 minutes. You do 25 minutes, no distractions whatsoever. Phones off. If you have noise canceling headphones, those go on, and you let that timer run. You only focus on what you say you're going to get done. You try to set your intention for what you're getting done, whether you're getting done something in that specific time frame, or whether you're going to be getting something done over a period of a few Pomodoros. You do 4 of those. After that, you take a longer break for 15 to 30 minutes. So like Alex said, we're going to do a little bit of an abbreviated version here just so we can get an idea of how it feels, even though it won't be the real or the traditional Pomodoro. And that will give you your focus time to just hone in on getting something accomplished with ChatGPT. So I will share my screen with a timer. And as I'm doing that, if anyone has any questions, now's the time.
Yes, and you can mute the Zoom while the timer is going off, and while you guys are playing around the chat Godmode. And then I guess afterwards, after the 10-minute break, we'll reconvene here and we'll talk about what we discovered.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, we are going to stay long if anyone wants to stay and network. But again, we want to honor the announced end times for this formal program. So hopefully some of you stick around after. Thanks, guys.
Okay, and run your first prompt. So guys, I'm going to set an intention for the whole group for these 10 minutes. It might be ambitious for 10 minutes if you haven't set this up yet. But what you want to do is try to get godmode.space set up just like Roberto showed you, and get a prompt in there. Okay, when we have our 5-minute break, we might be able to take a few people who can tell us about what they've gotten accomplished. All right, but without wasting any more time, 3, 2, 1, go.
Question about security. So when I was looking up Godmode for AutoGPT, one of the first things that popped up in the search engine was issues with security, and that I guess it's more prone to like cyber attacks or something. Do y'all know anything about how that works and any like security risks that there might be when using this?
So Godmode is a web app, so you're not running any code on your computer. AutoGPT essentially is a code you can go and download and install it into your computer and run it off of a terminal. And it's the same thing. So, but with Godmode, your computer's files are safe. I know that people have been talking about how AutoGPT installed in your computer opens up applications, does functions, it functions for you when it creates a task. So that could be the danger. But with Godmode, you don't need to worry about that. The only thing that you should think about is creating a new API or deleting your API key after you're done using the app, and then creating a new one every time you want to use it, because you don't know who can access the Godmode servers and find the API keys that you put in. So just for safety of your own account API key, just go back to openai.com and remove that API key and start a new one later when you want to open up Godmode again. But if that, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's super helpful. Thank you, Roberto.
No worries.
All right, good job, everybody. So 5-minute break, and we can, I suppose, share anything interesting that happened. If you came up with any interesting prompts that you're working on, or if anybody has any questions, just shout them out.
And in fact, Jeff, what I'd like to suggest, because we're pretty much right at 1 o'clock, and apologies to everyone that we ran into some time constraints and couldn't you didn't get the opportunity to experience the full Pomodoro, Jeff does these in immersed, by the way, at least every 2 weeks, and often spontaneously. And the 25 minutes is actually a scientifically based number. So you got a taste, but sorry you couldn't get the full experience. As I said, we're going to stay. We'll be here for half an hour, and we can absolutely do that debrief. But for those that need to leave, just wanted to thank you for coming. You know, hope you have a great Memorial Day if you're here in the United States, and that you'll come visit us here in Immersed at some point in the future. So with that, let me hand it back to you, Jeff. And yes, anybody who does want to stay, will be here for at least, you know, the next half hour to talk through what you experienced.
Great. Are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, fantastic. So yeah, so I was saying, just if anyone has any questions or observations from what you just did, shout it out. I'm trying to get ChatGPT to create a PowerPoint presentation for me and give me a file to download. I'm in the process of getting it to approve that whole plan. I basically took a transcription of a meeting that I have and wanted to put those notes into a PowerPoint and download it. Anybody do anything else interesting?
If I may jump in, Hakim speaking here. So
Yeah,
I've been using ChatGPT a lot, and it's the first time I try the Godmode stuff. So far, I didn't do a lot of progress, but maybe my request was a bit too complex. I gave it a company name I want to create it, 4 topics I want to coach businesses on, and asked it to suggest me a business plan. So what it does, it searches the internet. So mainly so far, it did some Google search. And when I look in the comments, if we're talking about Godmode here only, if I look in the comments, it sends, I don't see how it could get useful information from this kind of search, because it put everything in the search. So I separated 4 specific topics I want to work on, and rather than to separate the topics in the search, it just put everything. So Google will give way too many results, not relevant, and I'm stuck there. It won't do what I want. In the contrary, in ChatGPT, I have a very fine-grained access, a fine-grained control, because every time I ask a question, it gives me the answers, and now there is browsing. So if the answer is not good enough, I can tell it, no, that's not good enough. Try rather that way, and so on. So far, ChatGPT is way more useful for me than Godmode, but I need to dig more and try different things there. 10 minutes is very short for that.
Yeah,
obviously.
Absolutely.
I'd like to share.
Go.
So I asked it to create a sales and marketing plan to help me promote my executive coaching business in VR. And it suggested to me that a good place to start is looking for competitors, which is the advice that I would have given me. So that's pretty good. So now it's, you know, it's not like ChatGPT. It's not like, oh, write me a haiku. Oh, here's your haiku. It's, you know, it's kind of being complex, but I see the potential. So I'm kind of excited to toy with it more.
I think it's a lot about the potential. Absolutely. Here, what we're seeing, I've also messed around a little bit, haven't gotten amazing results, but I know that the important thing is actually just the experimentation at this point.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I've had not similar experiences where it does a really nice job of teeing up the things that you should be searching for. I've actually generated a list of prompts in Godmode, and then to your point, you still have to learn how to use it to get it to do what it's supposed to do, which is automate. But I've taken that list back to ChatGPT at times, and by using them together, was able to solve the problem. And as we say, we're still experimenting and figuring out the best way to get the result we're looking for. I'm sorry, Akeem. I think I stepped on you.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, and Akeem, you can go ahead, but I just want to let everybody know the timer is running again, 10 minutes back on the clock, in case you'd like to go on and continue with your creation in a focused manner.
Yeah, so I wanted to
we're going to
bounce back.
continue the conversation, Jeff, though, rather than maintain the silence. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Akeem, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Just to bounce back to what was said, can you just clarify, because I'm not sure I understand what Godmode is. Is this about browsing the web? So finding fresh information from the web, or is there something more to that?
Yeah, so Godmode is AutoGPT, and AutoGPT's sole purpose is to create a multi-agent version of ChatGPT. ChatGPT is one agent. So you give it a question, it gives you an answer.
Okay. So
Godmode essentially is you give it a goal as opposed to a question. Could be the same thing. It could be a question, but it will then is a multi-agent system. So it'll give itself questions to answer and answers to a question, and figure out the same answer or a more complicated answer to your question. Not only that, it'll also do research for you. So instead of you trying to feed it information, it'll go feed itself information. I think the ultimate goal for AutoGPT in general in the future is to become an AGI. So you can ask it to go to kayak.com and have it book your vacation at the same time as looking for the nearest dog park while you're on vacation because you're bringing your dogs. So it'll have all this information added onto your profile, and then you can give it very specific tasks, and it'll go and generate the correct best outcome or best outline for you.
If I could add, I'd like to share probably the most positive experience I had with it was using it to identify prospects within, and I didn't actually specify LinkedIn, but I specified a series of parameters that defined the sort of prospects I was looking for. And it created a task list that included checking it out on LinkedIn. And it was kind of funny. It came back to me and said, since I'm not a human being, I can't have a LinkedIn account. So please provide your LinkedIn credentials so I can complete the task. So I put in the LinkedIn credentials, and sure enough, it went back to LinkedIn and started identifying prospects based on those parameters. So that was pretty cool. That's probably the coolest experience I've had with it to date.
Okay, so I would have to read what is going on in the background to understand the difference. ChatGPT, I don't know what is going on in the background when I use browsing, but when you use browsing, you can see it does multiple actions before it gives you an answer. It goes to different websites, it searches the web. You see, it just tells you clicking, reading, going back, next last page, going to the end to the page, and so on. So it iterates a lot before to give you a reply. So I'm not sure I understand if they have the same capabilities. If they are, I think you have to absolutely look at it and understand how you can make Godmode different. But I will read about AutoGPT and Godmode to really understand what's behind the scene, because I'm curious. I'm very curious.
And Akeem, just to be clear, we're certainly not pitching Godmode. We just thought it was a cool example to illustrate what's possible. And candidly, my first experience with it was a little bit disappointing because I thought it was going to be more autopilot. And what I learned was, yeah, the potential's there, but like any other tool, it's still in development, and we still need to learn how to use it. So I would love to hear the experience you've had. It sounds like you've got tremendous experience with ChatGPT. And I'd be really curious to see if once you start using it more, you find that it is actually a better solution or not. And if it turns out not to be, then let's not use it, right?
I think most of all, I have just installed AutoGPT right now when we were starting this session, and I will read about AutoGPT, trying to understand what it does and test it and compare. And I gladly come back to you with some feedback, because now I understand it's not about Godmode, but it's about AutoGPT. So that's what I have to read about.
There's an article that I did a LinkedIn post, and I think I posted it to the comments in this event that Jim and Triglia did, which was outstanding. And he included a link to a YouTube video that I think you should check out. It's about a 15-minute video, and the gentleman reviews a series of AutoGPT solutions And I thought did a really good job of identifying the pros, cons, weaknesses, why one versus another, and how it works generally. So if you haven't looked at that particular video, I think that would be a great place to start, actually, Akeem.
I will. Thank you.
So Jeff, are we going to just do this one more Pomodoro and then call it a Pomodoro?
Sure.
And then we can kind of just, as I said, we're going to stick around until half past the hour and can just kind of, if we do some networking.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's important to reemphasize that the Pomodoro experience is not this short version. I think what we wanted to do is make sure that you guys got it installed and that you guys had some way of playing around with this new software over the weekend. Not just today. The experience is you guys to get exposure to something new. But to bounce back on the Pomodoro, I mean, it's a great tool to use within the team or even by yourself on how to get organized on the task list and then actually spend time highly focused on accomplishing that task. So
Definitely, I'll add that it's amazing in immersed. You can do it cross platforms, but
yeah,
a lot of us work during the day in the immersed co-working spaces, and we have we just see who's around and we say, hey, you looking to get some work done? Yeah, and we synchronize on a Pomodoro clock just any old time during the day, and it's amazing. In addition, we've got every other Friday, including today, just before this event, we've got an event called Focusverse, where we do the whole traditional Pomodoro, and we do 2 hours. You can hop in for any portion of it or just come for the entire thing. It starts at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And yeah, we do it 25, 5, 4 times.
And Jeff, thank you for emphasizing the difference between doing it in an immersive environment versus on a Zoom link, because in immersed, you can put up to 5 instances of your desktop up in space. And so the ability to identify everything you need to tackle a task and really, and then again, the immersion, you're not going to get bothered by your dog, or if you have children in the house, tough, you're in immersed. And it lets you really focus and have access to resources that you just don't have in the real world. So it is different in immersed, and that's kind of why we wanted folks to try to experience that. I've loved the sessions I went to. I have actually, Jeff, found it to be very effective, because let's face it, we're all dealing with all sorts of distractions all day, and even just to commit to those 25-minute segments is significant. You can get a lot done.
Yeah. If you're looking for this stuff, guys, like, and you're like, I want it now, you can have it, because we have a voice chat on the immersed Discord. It's called Focusverse Pomodoro. So if you look for that, or if you have questions, you can send me a message on LinkedIn or wherever you can find me. You basically can hop in there, and we actually have one of our members, Janusz from Poland, who just usually, I think he's on vacation this week, but usually he has a Discord user dedicated specifically to just having a timer up, just running all the time, and we try to synchronize to that. If you're wanting this right away, find me, because we can work together right on Discord. And if you have questions, let me know too. But that certainly wasn't the focus of our meeting today. It was just a little taste.
Thank you, Jeff.
So I failed to get my presentation from Godmode. So I think, like, I'm having a similar experience as a lot of people. My first attempts here haven't been very fruitful, but I'm just super excited about what this type of thing could do.
Sometimes I'll write a prompt and it'll give me suggestions for tasks, and I'll copy and paste that on a separate doc, and then go back and start a new session and use the prompts it gave me as tasks as prompts. And that has
Oh, interesting. Boy, that's strange that you would have to do that, but that's good to know that workaround helps.
Good job, Gary. Thanks for coming, by the way. Nice seeing you. Also, it's not just
You want to go ahead and stop sharing, Jeff?
Yes.
yeah,
I was just doing that.
the use
Makes
case
sense.
for me on copying and pasting that prompt that Godmode set up is not for me to like do doubly the work. It's just to go more in depth in that prompt than it would have. And instead of just being a task, I make it its objective. Its main objective, I mean. And then I kind of compile the information later on manually.
That's a good idea. So I think I
I
stopped
just like-
sharing, right?
Yep. I just like the name. Whoever came up with that name.
It's a great name.
Brilliant.
Robert, yes, we are running a bunch of these events coming up soon. We have a bunch that are going to be planned. We have one planned for on the 8th of June. But if you want more information, get in touch with us on LinkedIn. We're all in the LinkedIn event for this Zoom. Also, we have a website is vrnetworking.com. Go and sign up to the newsletter. I make sure to let everybody in the newsletter know about the events that we're running.
And we'll be able to send an invite to the registrants for this event, I presume, right, Robert? We'll just have to
For the next
put that
event.
together. And the next event, I mentioned it briefly. This gentleman by the name of Michael Alf, with his partner, wrote a book called Marketing in the Metaverse. It dropped about 6 weeks ago. And it's a really, the thing I like about the book is the first half is sort of level setting on how we got to this place from a technology standpoint, Web3, blockchain, what enables immersive technologies. And then the second half is a forward-looking, includes 6 interviews with leading thought leaders in the space and some ideas about how it's going to impact various industries. And we're going to meet in an immersive platform. So you'll have a chance to shake Michael's hand if you want. And it's going to be sort of a meet the author. We'll talk about the book a bit, and then we'll do some networking and Q&A. And that's going to be June 8th, probably about the same time, either noon or 1 o'clock. We haven't nailed the time yet, but look for that next week.
Great.
So I did something really interesting. I asked it to, and I'm not sure, it's still working on it. I asked it to compile a large list, detailed list of ways to market your business. This is the prompt. Create a detailed list of ways to find new clients and marketing that does not include social media or paid ads. It's been thinking for a long time, but it's working on it.
Somebody's asking about the book. I'm going to drop Michael's LinkedIn profile in the chat, and he talks about the book, so you can find it there. It's called Marketing in the Metaverse. It's available on Amazon. He is going to offer a promo code for a discount as part of this event. So if you think you might be interested, let me know, and maybe I can get an advanced copy of that promo code, or you can wait a minute. But let me get his information for you.
Also, to talk to make a point on Akeem, his comment. Yeah, there's a little clock icon next to the approve next step that will auto approve for the next 10 minutes. So if you guys haven't noticed, you could click that, and then it'll do its job for 10 minutes and then stop, instead of you having to click every time. Thank you, Akeem, for pointing that out.
Here comes Michael's LinkedIn information for anybody who's interested. And certainly feel free to reach out to him and connect if you'd like to. There's his information. By the way, and hardcore Immersians, cover your ears. We love Immerse, but we're also platform agnostic. And that event will likely be on a different platform, just because of the nature of the event. We felt lent itself to a different approach. So we'll likely be meeting in Engage for that meeting, for those of you who are familiar with Engage. Okay, Immersians, you can uncover your ears now.
They still have their ears covered because they can't hear you.
Excellent.
Good luck getting your computer into Engage.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why we stay here. That's one of the beautiful things I think about the VR landscape today. There's different organizations that are focused on different outcomes and requirements. And, you know, for my money personally, Immersed is far and away the best productivity site. I've tried the others, and also probably the best social networking site. There's lots of public rooms where people are always hanging out. You'll always find Jeff and Ryan here, and dozens of other people. So, you know, especially when you work remote and you don't have a water cooler to gather around, Immersed is a phenomenal virtual water cooler. And, you know, some really beautiful environments. And it's very business oriented. You know, you never see a bunch of kids running around like you do in some VR sites. It's intended as a business site, and does a tremendous job in that regard. So,
And we have the anti-squeaker system set up, by the way. So the group knows how to deal with lost kids in a humane way.
Can you guys hear me? Yes, we can. Hey, Jim, you are not mute on Immersed, and you are mute on Zoom. Yeah, we still have it up.
we're going to leave it up for 10 more minutes, Jim. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks like there's only about 3 or 4 people left that aren't here in Immersed. Let me ask the participants on Zoom, is anybody still interested in continuing the conversation? If not, if you are, speak or forever hold your peace, because we're going to drop the Zoom link here in a minute unless there's folks that want to continue to engage from Zoom.
We have Claudia in the house. What's up, Claudia?
So that's a different marketing in the metaverse book, apparently, because John McLaughlin is not the author. So that's interesting. We'll have to take a look at that. Thank you, Robert, for sharing that.
Unless that information came from ChatGPT, it might have been wrong. ChatGPT, specifically ChatGPT, I noticed picks up authors and publications. It's a specific, very strange error that it has.
Interesting.
I find ChatGPT and GPT in general conversations always very interesting. I mean, a lot of people still don't understand or still don't know GPT is the purpose of GPT is just I emphasize just word prediction. So it's not intelligent, it's word prediction. Yeah. So you better understand that and check every fact it gives you. Because even when for example, if you use GPT to make a search on the web, one of the headache it gives me so far is to tell me what is the date of the published information it provided me. For example, I asked information on a company to prepare an interview, and it went on the web, searched the company website, gave me information. But are these information the latest? Is this based on the latest company report? Or is this a 5 or 6 years old document? And this it was not able to tell me. However, if I went to the website and do the search myself, it was very easy to find. So it's we're not there yet. It's going fast, but just keep that in mind. Everything you do with ChatGPT, you have to cross-check. You have to stay the master of what ChatGPT does. It will not do things for you completely.
I think that's what they're trying to do here with the auto, right? I mean, you're 100% correct. It pulls together words and information and serves that to you, whether it's true or not. And when it has to, it makes things kind of clump together. But I think like the big potential, which is so amazing, is what you can do on what you can
Definitely.
do, what you can connect to the front of that. Like for your example, all that they would have needed in order to give you the right information was some tool that would check that. You know, it's that just
yeah.
checks the veracity of the
Yeah.
information, and the you know and how current it is.
Mhm.
Because if you could do that as a person, it certainly could be automated. That's not something that can't be done by some sort of a tech tool.
Right.
Yeah, but there'll always be things, I think, for a long time, not always, but for a long time, there will be these little gaps where the machines aren't quite there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I see the potential of AutoGPT in what you say. For example, you can tell AutoGPT to ensure to fact check the information, and then it will
Mm.
most probably try to find fact checking websites and so on. So, but for that you need to understand GPT is not providing you always fact information. So I understand AutoGPT, you need programming skills to use it, and I understand why, because you have to be very, very narrow and accurate on what you ask it to do. And this will be mostly for most AIs. It's not like talking to people. If you don't interact with it, and the goal of AutoGPT is not to have the need to interact, then you need to make a very accurate request. Otherwise, you might lose a lot of time and a lot of money, because in the end, you pay for the API transactions for an unsatisfactory result.
Totally.
So I think it's a bit like Mid-Journey, where you have to make engineering, prompt engineering. With AutoGPT, you also need to make prompt engineering. So that will be the hardest part, to learn how to make the best prompts for such a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Akeem, this is Jim. I'm sitting next to you, by the way.
Okay.
You might, if from a software development perspective, you might make the analogy that AutoGPT tools are like, you give them a goal. It's almost like software engineering with the visual tools where there's no coding, and you're drawing a diagram, or you're maybe doing a user interface, and it generates the code behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Where ChatGPT, prompt engineering is actually evolving. That's something I'm studying, where you do have that granularity, you know, and even in the granularity, if you just give it an English prompt, like somebody was talking about, you could look at that as a 4th generation level programming language, whereas you're really breaking that prompt down into persona and context and characteristics and format delivery. That's more like a 3G level language, like a C++ programming. And I think I think what you're running into is kind of what I had in the back of my head is, well, how does AutoChatGPT compare to prompt engineering, which is ChatGPT plus? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, I was able to get some success here. This is really my first time working in Immerse, number 1, and number 2, first time doing a Pomodoro, and I got Godmode working. Woo!
Nice.
That's the goal.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I gave it a very simple goal of finding alternatives to HeyPy, and I liked the way it laid out the plan, which was nice, and it actually found several alternatives, and it also gave me references, one of which is Gartner, which is something I respect. So I can see, this is the first time I'm using Godmode, I can see the potential.
I'm sorry, I missed it. You said
Pomodoro.
alternatives to what?
To HeyPy. I think somebody put it in, it's heypy.com. It's a conversational chatbot that you can just, I spent literally a half a day talking with it, and the conversations had to do with about me, about my business. And then at the end of very long conversations, I started asking it questions about developing new products. And darned if the thing didn't help me. It was pretty remarkable. It was amazing. So the problem is it doesn't have very much memory. So it's got a bit of short memory after a few days. So hopefully there'll be more improvements. But thanks for the Pomodoro, and thanks for Alex introducing me to Immersed. You were the troublemaker.
You are most welcome, Jim, and thanks for, I tell you what, I've learned a lot the last couple of weeks just prepping for this with you. So thanks for that.
Yeah, great job today.
Yeah,
Awesome.
great event. I think everybody that came in was able to set it up because, you know, while we were doing the setup, we still had 36 attendees. And then during the first Pomodoro, we still had 36 attendees. And then throughout, I think the first 10 minutes, only 2 attendees left, maybe because of they weren't interested in doing the Pomodoro. They just wanted to set up the God mode. But that, to me, that's a signal that everybody set it up.
Yeah.
And not too many questions, you know, the questions were quickly resolved, whatever problems people had. So that's good. More people on the God mode.
Yeah, my query on Godmode is still running. And I think it will run for a while. I will go to bed, it will be still running. But I'm very curious to see what will happen in the end. I might share it on the Discord. I added the Discord server to my Discord. So
I find sometimes the God mode gets hung up, and if you reload, it's like the prompt is actually done. I've been finding in a little while.
okay. But for instance, it's still doing queries. So I see it change the queries. So it's still working on it.
Yeah, mine just stopped. If you guys want to know, I asked it about the marketing without spending money or using social media. It said, obviously, attending network events or conferences, hosting workshops and seminars, check, right? Participate in trade shows, sponsor a local event. I mean, that's still spending money. I guess I didn't specify what type of spending money. Sending direct mail campaigns, sure. Offering referral incentives, creating branded merchandise, advertise on local newspapers, magazines, still money spending, so that one doesn't count. Create flyers and brochures, still spending money, it doesn't count. But then it went on to create, what I didn't ask for it is to create a referral program for me, and it did that. So that's pretty interesting. And I think I will create a referral program.
Do it.
But it only said 10%, and I feel like that's not good enough.
I want to try to get it to deliver me a pizza. That would be really cool. Like something physical to come out of this would be, I think that would be the aha moment for me if it actually happened.
Yeah, I just heard the pizza story recently. I thought it was pretty hilarious that the first use of AI was to have a pizza delivered.
It's always pizza.
Yeah.
It's always pizza. The first news broke out
Pizza's real life, man.
Yeah, pizza is life. I mean, I get it.
Pizza is the connection between the real life and the virtual life.
Well, guys, thank you so much, Jim, Jeff, Roberto. Not sure who else is here from the core team. Is your name Field or is that your username, Field Baker?
My real name is Heather Flanagan.
Oh, Heather. Okay, great. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you joined. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've been going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I also connected with a few of you on LinkedIn. So if you see Heather Flanagan, my company's Flanagan Leadership Group, I do executive coaching and business consulting, particularly with neurodiverse people, but not exclusively.
Awesome. Well, this was a sort of an atypical event for VR networking. Typically, you have more of an opportunity to do what I'll call more traditional networking and introduce yourself and whatnot. So, God, something's going on with my system right now, guys. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, just fine. I think it's just your camera that froze. If you reset it in immerse, like turn it off and on in the menu. But in the meantime, round of applause for Alex, because you did a great job setting this up, man. You've been leading the whole way. for quite a long time getting this event ready. So this
Yeah,
is
good job,
really,
Alex.
really just a cool instance to have.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that, Jeff. And, but, you know, goes without saying, it would never happened. I would never gotten on Godmode in the first place if Roberto hadn't, you know, provided me that
gosh.
remedial assistance. So, oh my God, it's so true. I was ready to.
No, you the man. No, you the man.
No, you the man.
Man.
Okay, guys.
Oh my
I
God, you're all the
I
man.
really do need to fly, guys. Heather, I hope we see you again. Team, fantastic job, and we'll see what we get in terms of the video and how we can repurpose it and get it out to the folks who couldn't make it.
Jeff, if you could give me back host, just I don't know if you close it out, if I'll get the recording.
Oh, the power. Yeah, you'll get the recording still. I don't know if I know how to give you back host, but I'll try. Let me see here. More.
Well, and isn't the recording? Well, you've got the Zoom recording, but we're getting the other recordings from Immersed from the cameras they had set up, right?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
We can decide.
I think
So
you
we
just
got it.
you just click on my screen, the top three.
Okay, guys, I'm heading out. Ciao.
See ya.
All right, see you later. And for everybody
Yeah,
else,
bye-bye.
thanks for coming, everybody. Gary, hope to see you next time. Akeem, you too. Robert, thank you for participating today. Heather, I will add you on LinkedIn. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Should be able to click on her
Kevin,
name
I did
in
not-
Immersed.
I did not miss you,
I'm not
Kevin. Thanks
mistaken.
for being here, buddy.
Does that work?
Say that one more time.
I think that you can click on Heather's nameplate there.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. Where did it
It's
go?
you're far away. It's hard to point.
Oh, well, pardon
There you
me.
are.
Boom. I'm in the fray now.
All right, guys. I have to drive for 7 hours. I
Quest.
appreciate everybody over here. And until next time.
See ya.
All right.
See you guys.
Pleasure.
Here, Roberto. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jeff.